Welcome back. This is to the Polity. We've been joined now by Dr. Law Mefo. He's a political scientist and also an analyst. He does some justice tonight, right now, to the issue of the off-season elections. Welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Thank you. A quick one.
Yeah.
I'm a social scientist, a social psychologist, and not a political scientist.
A social scientist.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
There are three states on the topic, so to speak.
Yeah.
So perhaps let's start with Kogi State and then move to the rest. Now, we've seen the main or major candidates, so to speak, emerge from the APC, the PDP, and some persons actually mentioned the ADC candidate too, being that is from the region where the PDP candidate also comes from. What do you make of what we've seen so far through the primaries and the contention and some of the Kogi State politics, including some person talking about minority groups, such as where the current governor is from and where the current APC candidate is from, and we have the larger Kogi, I believe Kogi East and West or so. So what do you make of the whole situation so far?
Yeah, I monitored the primaries in Kogi, the emergence of Adodo under APC, Senator Dino Mele, and a number of others, and of course the controversy, resulting from the conduct of the APC primaries in the state. I know that somebody like Senator Smata Daimi was raising the dust and calling into question the credibility of the primary and all that. And for me, generally, the Kogi primaries of all the political parties is just a reflection of the old order. No surprises, as far as I am concerned. And when it comes to what we call a free and fair primary elections, I wouldn't say that those primaries were free, that they were fair, because it starts from what we call the delegate list, where the delegates are not direct products of the parties and their memberships, originating from the wards upward to the final election that takes place at that level. You can't call it a product of the membership of the party. And that is precisely the what you may call the axe that Senator Smata Daimi was trying to grind. He called into question the delegate list and all that, and accused the governor of manipulating the process to produce who he wanted. And of course, for me, Senator Smata Daimi, may have benefited from that same kind of a flawed primaries in the past. I remember at one point he was lauding the governor, Bello, as the best to happen to Kogi, and that whatever Bello says, he would go with, sink or swim. These were his words. And now that he has fallen victim because he somewhere along the line fell out of favor, with the governor. The governor seemed to prefer somebody else. He's crying a foul. And that's why we keep saying, return power to the people, so that it wouldn't be a big man thing where a single individual, like the governor or the president, would sit down with a little group, you may call an oligarchy, to decide for the generality of the people. That's exactly what has been going on. And such practices have actually reduced Nigerian democracy to mere civil rule. In other words, going by what has happened in the primary school, Kogi and the rest, they really confirm what I have often held as my position, that Nigeria is not yet a democracy. at best, what we practice is still civil rule. And a civil rule in the sense that it's civilians, it's not the military that is doing that. But the method is essentially the same. And it's the same in the sense that if you look at the basic definition of democracy as government of the people, for the people, and by the people, as advanced by Abraham Lincoln, for the U.S., you would see that the people are still not in charge of their destiny, in charge of deciding who would be their flag bearer and who would ultimately be their leader through election. That hasn't started happening, as far as I am concerned. So that's why I see what has happened there.
All right. This brings into question some of the agitations that all primaries should be direct.
That's always been my position. Direct primaries.
Oh, you agree?
Oh, sure.
Is it less likely
I've actually advocated that here on your station, that for you to really lay the concrete foundation for democracy, handing power back to the people, it has to begin with primaries. It's the primaries, and the primaries, must involve the leaders, the leaders and the led. It means the entire membership of each political party, the members coming together and directly deciding who would be. That is what you have at the moment.
Will it reduce all these issues that we're having?
It will. It will, in the sense that it is going to mitigate the influence of money. What actually happens in a kind of primaries we have at the moment is a kind of bazaar, and is the sale of the party ticket to the highest bidder at all levels. That's a fact. Presidential level, if you look at the presidential primaries, it was all, dollar bazaar. People saw it. It was in the open. Some bidders.
Can't you still do this for,
in direct primaries, the people are too many for you to really give that kind of money. Money will be involved, no doubt about that. But because of sheer large number, it will not have an overriding, influence.
It won't be so easy.
It will not be so easy to, for example, if you have a delegate election of, say, 500 to 1,000, you buy maybe for $1,000 per delegate. If you have to deal with membership of a political party of upward of 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 members, such an amount, even deployed, triple, will not have so much influence. Do you get the point? So you discover that money, the influence of money will be reduced to the barest minimum. Don't forget, I didn't say eliminated. It will still play a role, but the role it will play will be minimal. But now, as we speak, it is a bazaar. It is the auctioning of the party ticket. Look at what happened with the Labour governorship primary in Imo State. It was an auction as well, and and when they rolled out their ticket, for 25 million. I told my friends, I said that Labour has gone the way of the PDP and the APC. Even though following Peter Obi's intervention, they brought it down to 15 million. 15 million for me is still, too high.
Some people say if you can't spend 15 million, you are not ready to be governor of the states.
But then, why that kind of argument? When you say one cannot be governor of a state if he cannot afford the 15 million naira, you ask yourself, how many retirees, for example, can, do you understand that, afford 15 million? In other words, you have actually said that governorship, presidency of Nigeria are now exclusively reserved for the rich elite, those who have the money, because you have now made money the delineator, the irreducible minimum, that if you are not rich to that extent, you are not qualified. Now, it means that you are not looking at competence. You are not looking at integrity. You are not looking at vision. You are not looking at mission. You are looking at money. Do you understand that? And the money, no matter how tainted, and that is how some drug barons have become a whatever in Nigeria. You know, because we are looking at money. Those who can buy the ticket.
Wait,
and that is what has brought us to where we are.
Wait, let me just add a little to that argument. Yes. You know, people say that it's not just that, about the affordability. It's that they want you to be prepared, whoever the candidate is, so that when you take power, small change, or so to speak, doesn't move you. There's this belief that if you can't, or if you've not seen 15 million and you go into office and you have billions of naira at your disposal, there's more likelihood of temptation than perhaps something you are used to. What do you make of that?
No, the argument is still warped, very weak, I tell you, because you know, if you keep it at that level, I still see that the common delineator is money, not how you even made it. That's why I talked about integrity. You know, men who I used also the example of retirees, you know, those who retired from civil service, you know, former this, former that, and these are people who are still strong enough and they are rich enough in knowledge, in experience, in competence, and all that. You have used money to eliminate those. Do you understand that? For example, you know, some university lecturers that would want to venture into politics. Do you know how much the university professor is paid? Receives less than 500,000. How many years do you think he would work to save 15 million to be able to buy your ticket? And it doesn't stop there. He still has to launch his campaign that will go up a multiple of that same amount. So you don't make money the issue, and what you have to emphasize is the ability of your candidate to really deliver on the party manifesto, and of course integrity. I keep talking about integrity as the common delineator. It shouldn't be money. Integrity is everything. It's the foundation that you erect anything common good. If you don't have integrity, no matter how visionary, you know, no matter how competent the individual is, you will be erecting, you know, the future of the people on a very weak platform. Because you said that the person who hasn't seen 50 million would be swayed. A rogue who has seen billions will accumulate much more when he gets in there. Yes. And that has been that has been our experience. A rogue. Once a rogue, always a rogue. Once you have integrity challenge, don't ever bank on such a person, because it does not matter. Everything he does in the final analysis will have to take care of his own interest. The people he would give contracts, those he would you know, you see cronyism, you will see all manner of things. You see favoritism, ethnicity, all these things will come to the fore, because that is what the individual has always known. The way we recruit leaders, we don't get our priorities right. That is why money has taken the front seat.
All right. Still speaking on money, we'll go back into the specifics of the states. But you raised an interesting, you know, thought process there. We see that in other climes, the process for funding of elections is usually very public, very open. You know, it's as though they recognize that politicking and campaigns cost money, and then they openly, you know, host these fundraisers and so on and so forth. I don't know if I've seen any, you know, typical nation. Do you think Nigeria can, you know, start to imbibe that culture so that these people you mentioned, perhaps a professor who has all the you know,
qualities, but it doesn't have the, it's not a money bag.
Yes, so that they can, you know, start to get funds. And
you know, the process is what is fundamentally flawed. I talked about you know, the emphasis. Even basic politicians see election period as a kind of a period to make money. The electorate is the same. That is why they pay. That is why they sell their votes for 1,500, you know, 5,000, 10,000 at most, right? Now, it's a culture. It has become a political culture developed over time. And when you now talk in terms of crowdfunding to facilitate the entry of anybody into a political position, now you have to go back to even what you call a political party formation and political party funding. If political parties are not funded by their members, how do you expect the candidates to be funded by their members and by their friends? It's a very difficult thing, because the way political parties are funded in Nigeria, you know, the way they are funded is purely godfatherism. You see somebody would emerge and become the financier, one or two, a few others, governors, for example. And that was how governors have become so powerful. Look at what has happened to the PDP, for example. PDP, the major opposition political party, hijacked by a few governors, led by Mwike. And that was what has brought the party down to its knees, because the members are not even in a position to do much. So you will see some, you know, pockets of party leaders constitute themselves into cabals, right? Go to the current democratic dispensation. What happened in the APC also is symptomatic of what we are trying to analyze. How did Tinubu get the presidential ticket?
Dr. No, just a moment, please. Let's quickly take this call before the conversation continues. Good afternoon. You're on to the Polity. What's your name and where you coming from?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ahmadi.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Doc. You are on to SND from Lagos.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Thanks for calling in.
I don't already give you what I consider a standing ovation, even though you are not seeing me. Ahmadi is not seeing me.
Thank you for
that.
But
right now, as I was talking to you, I am standing as a standing ovation, because you have said it all. Honestly speaking, doctor, I really appreciate, because I ask myself, when are we going to start building our institutions? Because there is no any respect in the political parties. And if you look at the kind of primary election we are running, you will agree with me. That is why we are all getting it wrong right from the grassroots. And the participation, the citizen participation is not there. What I mean by citizen participation, I don't mean by electorate to go and vote. I mean ordinary me without knowing any ladder to go and claim a form and then possess the position to go and stand for a position, either a race in a state level or a national level or senator. We can't do that in Kenya. Ordinary person with bicycle can go. People can bring him out and they can contest and he can win. So what are we going to learn?
all right.
Does that mean from 1999 to date we never learned from our lessons? That's the question.
Thank you so much.
If you consider what Larry Diamond said when it comes to politics, the entire participation is not there. Thank you very much, Doctor. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you for calling.
You know, you see his thoughts. Basically, what I am talking about, the power is not here with the people. You know, political power is still in the hands of the captors. You know, so what you find in Nigeria as a political party system is just a platform, not a political party. If you understand the basic and fundamental theories, you know, justifying formation of political parties, the coming together of like minds in an electioneering process, aiming to sell their ideas, contest for offices, get into office, you know, to be able to implement those ideas. Nobody is talking about any manifesto in Nigeria. Nobody is talking about that. You know, the incumbent and outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari's government ran on a manifesto of the APC. The manifesto of the APC had about 222 counts. Not one has been addressed effectively by the president. The president came in and started pursuing a different thing. So you can see that the issue is not a matter of vision. It's a matter of what the oligarchy, the people who came together to capture state power, what they had in mind. If they tell the people precisely what they had in mind, the people may not vote. So when they come in, they abandon what they told the people and pursue their own private agenda.
All right, let's talk about that. You know, it reminds me of a funny statement. Some persons say that Donald Trump was the first American president who said exactly what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Because some of the things he proposed were not taken too kindly by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then he came into power and he started doing it. People said, what? He's really doing it. You know? But so now let's talk about something you mentioned about the Labour Party. Now, during the elections or after the elections, we saw some news that made a lot of people happy. A politician who was said to be a former or a bike rider, one who was said to be a bus driver.
Yeah.
And there was this buzz that no matter who you are, the son of a common man or a rich man, you can come to the Labour Party and you have a chance. Now people are saying that when you become a big party, you have big party problems.
Yeah.
So the question now is, what is the way forward? If at a certain level, because now people have seen that the Labour Party to an extent can give you a chance, and then people are tripping in the ones, and the issue of the money politics now, what it simply means is that in a place like PDP and APC, where you have to fight it out with other money bags, you can simply run over to the Labour Party, you'll probably be the richest person there, and you take it home.
Yeah.
So what is the way that we ensure that whatever party, is it that once a party has a taste of power, it's over, they suddenly become like the rest?
Yeah, I get your, I get where you are coming from. You see, it still goes back to the issue I tried to sort of pep up, bring to the fore. The party system in Nigeria is not yet a party system. In other words, there is no true political party in Nigeria yet. Political parties are ideologically driven. There's no ideology anywhere. If you read the constitution of PDP and APC, if you remove the covers, you know, showing you PDP and APC, practically the same thing. If you had taken time to look at the manifestos of the 4 leading presidential candidates in the last election, practically the same. They were all saying basically the same. What that means is that, you know, it's not a matter of ideas. We are not short of ideas. The issue is that the people are still removed from the system. And that was what the Electoral Act 2002 tried to kill. Electoral Act 2002, you know, so look, vote at the polling units, upload the result from the polling units, then proceed for collation. Simple. And if only INEC did that, what Benani and her group did in Adamawa wouldn't have happened. What you know, Professor Mahmood and his men did at the presidential election wouldn't have happened. There wouldn't be any need for tribunal, because the uploaded results arriving real time would give every stakeholder, you know, candidates, political parties, watchers, time to compute the results for the ward, for the local government, for the state on their own. So if you lost, you will see it up there on IREV. You will see it. Memo doesn't have to tell you. But they removed that process. So if you want to get political parties to work in Nigeria, start from the political party system formation. Let it be based on the people. Funding of the political parties must be done by the members of the political parties. In fact, there should be evidence that you paid your party dues before you can even participate in the party primaries. As we speak now, political party members don't pay their dues. Do you know why IU was removed? Why he was suspended by his ward? IU wasn't paying his dues. National chairman of the PDP wasn't paying dues. You belong to a ward. That is where you are registered. If you don't want to register in your state of origin, you register where you live. For example, in Abuja here, You register in the ward where you stay in Abuja. You pay your dues there. Nobody does. So people like Wike would emerge and hijack the platform. They will bring the money. And that is the angst of Wike. Wike is saying, look, since after 2015 presidential election, PDP lost, everybody abandoned the party, I brought the money that stabilized the party and kept the party alive till this moment. And you emerge from nowhere and take the ticket. Do you see the problem? You know, so you can see how Wike has implicated what I am talking about. Political party members can't say anything because they never paid, including I. They never paid their membership dues. And what is your monthly or annual dues? Maybe just 200 naira per month. That comes to 2,400 in a whole year to justify that you are a member of the political party. This is not happening. So you discover that the funding process is one major delineator that proves that we don't have political party system in Nigeria. So apart from even ideology, the issue of funding is also there. It is now left in the hands of those who can fund it, and those who do constitute themselves into an oligarchy.
That is quite fair, the way you analyze it. I think another thing that could help is making it public at the very least. You know, let's see what's coming and what's going out.
Yes, of course there must be accountability.
Yes,
there should be audit. Do you know that INEC is supposed to audit the political parties at least once a year? When did they do that last? INEC. So when we talk about institutions, is INEC really up and doing? It is INEC that will compel the political parties to fall in line and do their jobs. You need to do, periodic monitoring of the what you call viability test of these political parties even before they are registered. You need to be sure that they exist in at least 2/3 of the political space in Nigeria. Do you understand that? That is a constitutional requirement. But is INEC doing that? We see political parties that haven't won, councillorship election anywhere in Nigeria participating in presidential election. That is an aberration. You are not a political party. If you have no seat in National Assembly, you are not qualified to contest in presidential election. Because what would justify it? You should prove that you are a political party at national level by occupying at least a seat in the House of Representatives. How many of them are there? That's the question. Perhaps 5, certainly not more than 7, but 18 of them went into this presidential race. So if you want to really have democracy, there are structures that must be put in place. Election is not the only factor that grounds democracy. Yes, it is inevitable. It's one of the fundamentals, but it's not even number one. Election is not number one. For you to even have a credible election, you need to have a credible voter register. Do you have one? What INEC gives us as, voter register, I don't believe in it. 93 million of us registered, 80-something million of us picked our PVCs, and less than 25 million voted. Something is not adding up. It does appear to me as if INEC is deliberately giving these figures because it justifies the humongous amount they receive from government and from international community. A place like UK, EU, they all give INEC money. Who is auditing such funds? Is INEC supposed to expend, such foreign donations without passing through government, expenditure process? Is this really going on? Who really knows how much? Which law compels INEC to account for the money they receive from outside? And don't forget, we are even told that candidates should not receive foreign donations in the course of prosecuting their presidential campaign. But you, the umpire, you're receiving money from curious sources. If an organization that has, for example, Islamic or Christian bias gives you money. Do you understand that? Is that not sending some body language? You know, what you call Piper syndrome in journalism. Won't that taint? Are you not going to be somehow subservient to certain suggestions they make in order not to injure or insult the source of your funding? So for me, even such foreign donations should be made directly to the federal government and not to INEC, because it is a problem. They don't. I was listening to a presentation in the UK Parliament on this our election, and a mention was made that about £10 million was given to INEC. You know, so and nobody ever had that. Is that appearing as grants under INEC? What you may call INEC budgets or budgetary budget? You know, how do they really account for such money? Something you journalists ought to investigate. How do they account for it? How much did they get for elections in Nigeria since 1999? And how have they accounted?
That's really on the front burner.
Yeah.
So let's quickly take it back to Kogi. One last question, so we'll move to Imo and Bayelsa. So for Kogi State, what do you make of the state politics about the fact that they're saying that the governor has picked somebody who's pretty much from his local government after 8 years of his own run, and also the fact that the PDP candidate is an Okun man, and there's another Okun candidate, and there's this talk that it is their, the same is our turn type of politics.
Yes, I understand. So, yes, you see, I am an apostle of zoning, and I have often pontificated on the need to make zoning a rotation of power, rotation of presidential power between north and south, and zoning within the south and north divide when such power comes to their side, a constitutional issue. If you do so, the implication is that governorship of a state will have to rotate amongst the 3 senatorial zones. If this has been a legal consideration, a legal provision, this issue you raised wouldn't have arisen. But it's not. Remember what happened when Autumn picked his successor? Autumn insisted that look, by taking it you have a thief dominating in Benue, followed by Idoma. Idoma people insisted it ought to be from them. And Autumn said, look, if we go through that route, APC will win this. And he picked somebody from thief. It's almost the same thing you're talking about. Yahya Bello is picking somebody from the same area where he believes can deliver, caring much less, to what happens to the prevailing sentiments, social justice, equity. Doesn't care about all that now. Now, he is running the risk of what happened to Autumn in Benue. You know what I mean by that? They cherry-picked successor of Autumn failed. A reverend father from APC picked the governorship. Do you understand that? So I would not be surprised if the popular sentiment is that power should move from the Bello side to the other side, and he is thinking he would use his incumbency to force his preferred cherry-picked candidate into power. It may not work. So he may be unwittingly paving the way for someone like Dino Melai to emerge. And Dino is quite a bit of a character. So it's not somebody you can just wish away. He has been around. He's been a senator. He's been a member of House of Reps. So he has a firmly rooted structure and name in the state. He may appear to be rough, but he's not integrity challenged. Nobody has ever accused Dino of anything that borders on corruption. Do you understand that? And you see, people easily connect with characters like that. So, the we will see in the forthcoming Kogi governorship election how right, Bello is, and how the people who feel aggrieved will be able to mobilize their support for the PDP or even the other political party. I don't know that guy, and I'm not sure that the party, is strong enough. So you see that the major beneficiary and the fallout from such a position is likely to be the PDP. It happened in Benue. That's why I used the Autumn example.
Yeah.
His successor didn't win. A Reverend Father won, and much of the votes coming from protest. So much of the votes in Kogi would also be coming from protest. And who will be the beneficiary? Very likely PDP's candidate,
Right.
Dino Malaye.
We'll see how that turns out. So let's move to Imo State now. I think there's been a number of developments, but one development that I think people expected from at least about 3-4 years ago is that I think everyone sort of believed or thought they knew who the PDP candidate for Imo State would be.
Yeah.
It seemed like a shoe-in for the former governor Ihedioha, who was removed through the courts. But some days, I believe, to the primaries or weeks or so, he withdrew from that contest. Yeah. The reasons were a bit vague. We still don't know specifics.
We know the reasons.
We'll hear about that. Now, on the flip side, we have the Governor Hope Uzodinma, who has been who is trying to beat the rhetoric that he's a Supreme Court governor who was never chosen by the people. He's going to have another chance now for the people to come out and speak
and choose or reject him.
Yes, and also we saw the performance of the APC at the state assembly elections. It seemed to give them some level of morale to the governor. So what do you make of the dynamics and everything?
First, let me quickly avert your attention to something about Hope as Supreme Court governor. Blame my neck. Hope carried the polling unit results for the 386 cancelled areas to the Supreme Court. Till today, INEC has not been able to produce their own copies. So Supreme Court worked on what they saw. So who do you blame in this instance? If the Supreme Court brought their own copies, that the Supreme Court would have been able to compare the two. If INEC had brought, Hope brought his own, which he garnered from his own polling party agents and the police, and took them to the Supreme Court. INEC till this moment has not produced one copy to prove what Hope Uzodinma brought wrong. They did it. So the judgment of the Supreme Court may be inelegant. It may look curious, but they just did it to teach them a lesson. That this whole thing is based on evidence. If you say that what Hope brought before us is fake, give us the original. Do you know I agree with the Supreme Court? That's me. I don't care about what popularity means when it comes to looking at facts and reality. INEC should produce the original results in the cancel the result. Whatever, if you cancel a result, do you burn it? If you cancel a result, won't you have the copies of what you cancelled? They refuse to produce it before the Supreme Court. I stand to be corrected. Now, Emeki Ihedioha had left, and we know why. I was shocked when he left, but when I inquired, I found out that Sam Dadi, the National Secretary of the PDP, refused to resign in order to contest. And it is the neck of the PDP that will raise the delegates list and supervise the election. And you are the National Secretary that will do all this in a race that you are not just an interested party, but you are actually a contestant. You know, so Emeki Hedio have raised objections that fell on deaf ears. The neck of the PDP did nothing, the National Working Committee did nothing, and Emeki Hedio left. Now, they coronated Sam Dadi as the gubernatorial flag bearer of the PDP in the state. And do you know how they even did it? They made sure he had no opponent, so he was returned unopposed. Well, we'll wait to see whether, you know, he will also be returned unopposed by the Imo electorate, because he has a formidable opponent to really convince the Imo people against, in the person of Senator Hope Uzodimma, a gladiator. He's not somebody you can wish away. He's an incumbent governor, and during the House of Assembly elections, APC under Hope Uzodimma won 27 seats out of 27 seats in a matter of few weeks ago. Yeah. So, you know, and you are going to face somebody like that in November 11 in the gubernatorial election, and you believe that you go into such an election with a divided house? Is it not a repetition of what happened to PDP in the center when PDP broke into 3 factions in a crucial presidential election, that Nigerians looked up to them to provide an alternative platform? Peter Obi left. PDP saw it coming and did nothing to stop Peter Obi. He left and took his supporters into Labour. Labour became a faction of the PDP by implication. The G5 governors, PDP watched Wike and other 4 governors leave because they did nothing to bring them back into the fold. They gave you conditions to come back. They said, remove IU. You now went legalistic, started saying that even if you remove IU, it has to be by convention to get a successor. Now that IU has been removed by the court, has PDP held the convention now to have a successor? So why didn't you do this before the presidential elections, to blackmail Wike and his gang back into the fold? By ignoring Wike and the G5 governors, you force them to fight like wounded lions. That's a faction, a formidable faction of the PDP, fighting against the PDP. Wike worked day and night, used every force imaginable to deliver APC in the last presidential election. The records are there. What Wike did. So if Wike did that for his own political party, do you understand that? Makinde, you know, and all the others really worked. Autumn, you know, Uguayim and Ibazu, the 5 governors working, even if it is only 200,000 votes that they brought in. Do you know what that would be? What is the margin of win between the APC candidate and the PDP candidate? It's 1.something million. So you can see the self-inflicted injury that the PDP as the foremost opposition political party takes a lot for granted. Now, your immediate past governor, who was unfairly and unjustly removed, you did not even accommodate him in your plans. Do you not expect the Emeki Hedio to work for Sam Dadi? Supposing he joins forces with either Labour or with Hope Uzodimma, would you blame him? The worst you can do is to expel him. And what does he stand to lose anyway? Do you understand that? And again, if he knew that this perfidy will be perpetrated against him in good time, he would have left in good time. to join a platform, a platform like a Labour and or even any other platform for that matter, and still participate in this governorship election. So I don't believe that the neck of PDP is insisting that the national secretaries and daddy shouldn't resign and would be part of the supervisory process and still contest in the same election. I don't see any social justice in that. I don't see any level playing ground in that. So if PDP fails to win the forthcoming Imo governorship election, they have only themselves to blame, nobody, because they are going into this election again as a divided house. Even for the optics, like what happened in the center, people were asking if PDP cannot put his house together, how are we sure that they will lead the country out of the woods? Won't this fight continue even if after they have won the presidency? Can you ask yourself how many people, within the 30% undecided population, very huge undecided population, people who became undecided because of such factors, instability in the opposition, and so on and so forth. Do you know the number of them that eventually didn't vote for PDP? So I don't know. Sometimes I say, is PDP really running to win? Or what they call juju? Sometimes they act as a political party that is under a spell. Because I don't see who goes into such a battle with his hands tied behind his back. Why would you tie your own, if somebody else tied your own hands, I can understand it. But you tie your own hands behind your back. You tie your right hand behind your back and you're going into a fight with your left hand free. I haven't seen, I don't understand. I'm here to be educated to understand why this kind of arrangement.
Put to you one of the excuses, because I speak to a lot of PDP members about this issue, and one thing they say is that even though they are not happy, they say that the thing about the PDP is that there is true democracy within it, and because of that, there is more chances for people to disagree. That in other parties, once a person makes a pronouncement, take for instance what you've explained now with Sam Daddy. If perhaps it happened in another party, the rest of them will just fall in line and follow suit. But that the PDP raises strong personalities, so it's very easy for them to disagree and all that. What do you make of that?
And you see, these are very lame excuses. The PDP is a democratic party. Where is democracy when you couldn't respect your own party constitution? The PDP constitution, as amended in 2009, stated that there should be rotation of presidential power between North and South Nigeria. So if you can't even, respect your own constitution, by not respecting your constitution here, I mean throwing open your presidential ticket, going by the PDP presidential PDP constitution, North and South Nigeria cannot contest in the same presidential election primaries. But they sold the forms to everybody even before they took a decision on rotation, whether to rotate or not to rotate. You have already collected 50 million naira from the likes of Atiku. Collected 50 million from Tambuwal, Governor of Bauchi, Mohammed Bala, and others. You've collected money from them. Meanwhile, you now set up the autumn committee to decide whether there should be rotation. So are you telling me that they were sincere about that process? It meant that they would be happy to return the millions they collected from these people, assuming they wanted to obey their constitution that says that the presidential flag bearer of the PDP should come from South Nigeria. There is no honesty in all these things. So when they tell you that they are very democratic and all that, what is democratic in Sam Daddy, National Secretary, running for Imo primaries without resigning? What is democratic about it? I want to understand. I want to be educated. Because maybe their own definition of democracy is different from what we have often known. We have been students of power leadership for at least 2 decades. We know what democracy is. If they are democratic, they will allow the people to take decisions. Democracy is about tyranny of the majority. The majority will have their say, will have their way, and the minority will have their say. But this is not what is going on. There is no place, there is no place in Nigeria, primaries, governorship primaries, for example, where the people decided who would fly the flag of a political party, including the PDP. It has always been a handful of people, call either the neck or whatever. First, you will not even know where the delegate list is drawn. The governor will just draw it and hand the tickets, tickets to enter the stadium or wherever the primary will take place to people that may not even be members of the PDP, of the political party. That's what the governors do. One, you will not see nobody publishes the delegates list. By the time you get there, even those you thought are delegates are no longer delegates. And they call it democracy. No, it is not democracy. What is called is oligarchy. That's what they practice. Oligarchy is a form of government where a handful of people come together and hijack the political party and the process and decide what will happen. That's exactly what is happening in Nigeria.
But it seems, with your definition now, it seems as though even when people do that in other parties, they still find a way to bring those aggrieved persons in. Why is the PDP missing that? If you must impose, why do you not
find a way? That's I was talking about Juju a while ago. It's one of my problems. That's why I use the G5 example. They gave me a very clear example, a very clear condition. Remove Ayu. And rather than look at the electoral value of Ayu vis-a-vis the 5G governors, you're looking at legalism. By going to say that, you see, the constitution says if Ayu goes, they remove Ayu first and let the acting national chairman come. They will see that they can't, that is where you can get to at this point. That way, even if they continued to work against the PDP from outside, the people, Nigerian people, will no longer hold PDP responsible. So those undecided 30% voters that eventually, many of who eventually voted against the PDP because they couldn't put their house in order, can no longer blame the party. They will remain with the party. Most of in fact, I believe that up to 50% of the votes that went to Obi and Labour left from PDP. South is South, Middle Belt, FCT. PDP has never lost FCT. But I think we couldn't get even 20%. So it shows you that something fundamentally happened. They need to go back to the drawing board and then ask themselves some soul-searching questions. They know the truth. They know they didn't do things right and begin the healing. They owe the Southeast an apology because they robbed them of the chance of producing the presidential flag bearer of the PDP. It was the natural opportunity for the Southeast. They believe that an Igbo man cannot really win presidential election. But P2B proved everybody wrong, including myself. He proved everybody wrong. He led in 12 states, APC in 12 states, PDP in 12 states. And I was reading analysis of Premium Times. And Premium Times is saying, look, we have calculated the polling unit results in Labour, in Rivers State, and Labour is leading and not APC. What does that tell you? If that is true, and it's proved in the tribunal, you will see that the final record will be that P2B led in 13 states and the APC led in 11. And yet, this is a zone you said stands no chance. Are you the electorate? Do you understand what I'm saying? You say the zone stands no chance and cannot present a viable presidential candidate. But P2B became a movement, a national property appropriated by Nigerians. Integrity is not an ethnic property, because that was the essential quality that gave P2B an edge. Integrity. And Nigerian masses have been looking for just somebody that can put a face for their desire to change the process and the polity. And P2B fitted the bill. So that gap, as he emerged, P2B filled it. So if you check his votes, majority of his votes didn't come from the southeast, came from outside Igbo land. Proving that indeed that is not, he is not an ethnic champion. Nobody saw P2B as an Igbo candidate. It never happened.
Right,
you get the point?
Yes.
So for me, it's a phenomenon that is worth studying.
Right. Let's quickly end now with Bayelsa. What are your thoughts on Bayelsa? This is, ironically, of the 3 states, this is a state where PDP has
Lloyd in APC is the person that keeps catching my attention. Lloyd is an unfortunate person. You remember his case?
Yes.
He actually won. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Supreme
Court said, how can one man answer 10, 12 names? That we don't even know who you are anymore. It's on that ground that they disqualified him. And Diri now inherited. Diri now became the governor by default. Diri didn't win that seat by the ballot. He won it by default. It was an achievement by default, in the sense that if the disqualification of Lloyd didn't happen, himself wouldn't have emerged as governor. So, both Lloyd and Diri are children of circumstance. Do you understand that? Diri is trying to come back. Sentiment will be on his side if he had been given the ticket. But you see, Dimitri Silva, right? Silva, the immediate past Minister of State for Petroleum, resigned and went for the ticket. Very large war chest, right? Lloyd couldn't stand it. And if you go through the whole process, Lloyd is still protesting. I think he has even decided to challenge Silva's victory, and again dividing the house. If he's genuinely popular, if he's a grassroots person, he's going to hurt the chances of the APC. Yes, he's going to hurt the chances of Silva, because no house that is divided against itself has stood anywhere. It means that this Senator Diri, is on his way to returning as a second-time governor. I'm building a scenario that will make it possible for Diri to return as a second-time governor, making it even easier than it was before. You see, he has had more than this factor going for him also. He's been there for 4 whole years, and he has performed creditably well. From what we hear, from people and from journalists, from people who have tracked progress in the place, my friends who have been to Bayelsa, they have returned with, some favorable review of Diri's administration so far. It then means that he will be running to return based on records of performance. That is what I expect. Whoever is coming back for a second term, like Hope Uzodinma, should be able to, in the last 4 years, disprove that he is Supreme Court governor and prove to the people that he is a people's governor. That in the last 4 years, these are the things I've been able to do for you. Give me a chance to do these other ones I talked about but couldn't have the time to do. You run based on on your performance. But when you seize the ticket and you have not shown any performance anywhere, for example, if somebody like Sandadi that has seized the ticket of the PDP, because that's the way I see it, he didn't win it, he seized it. Do you understand what I'm saying? But he has not really done anything for the people of Imo. He was a senator. But you know, a senator, his ability to impact on the state is always very limited. Do you understand that? Yeah. But the Emeka Ihedioha was there for 7 months. And he was really loved. And as a matter of fact, the PDP ticket for Imo State ought to be, be given to Emeka Ihedioha as a matter of right of first refusal. Exactly. But they didn't do this. So for me, I think that Diri stands a very good chance. And if Silva is wise, he will do what you said a moment ago. Heal the wounds. Get back to, Lloyd. Kneel down if you must. Lock the door. You see, you are man to man now. And talk about this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Win him back and go to this battle with him as an axe. Your victory will be better. Silva was once a governor of the state. So he had, but he lost to Dixon in his second attempt to return as a governor. So he has a balance of one term, which he is trying to see if he could fulfill this time around. So for me, the coast is not looking bad for Diri. It's also not looking bad for Silva if Silva does the needful.
All right. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine.
It's been great having you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right. As we continue to look forward to the off-season elections and the campaigns which should begin sometime soon, we'll bring you more updates as it comes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be with us every day, every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. The Polity reaches you live from Abuja. Have a nice day. I am Amadino Bewe. Bye for now.